Check out my sunburn. It's Tim Byrne. Sunburn, Tim Byrne. Tim Byrne almost live. Ron Rau. I love having him at the Connect show, and this is one of our last episodes from down there. And what you got to ask yourself, do work order management third-party companies really save you money, or have they just pushed the cost onto the vendor and upped the actual charges that the retailer's being charged? Ron and I discussed this for a half an hour. I hope you enjoy it. I'll see you on the backside. This is Tim Byrne. Tim Byrne almost live. I'm your Wednesday night drive home, and I have two of the most fantastic people with me at Connects in Denver, Colorado. To my left is Mr. Ron Rau, superhero. Ronnie, thanks for coming back. I appreciate it. And to my right is Viagra Man.
Yes.
Chris Blount. Welcome back, Christopher.
My pleasure.
It's been like years.
It has been. It feels
days,
like
minutes, even seconds. We got two episodes back to back. Everybody's been commenting that your blue logo behind us looks like a Viagra pill.
Yes, I agree.
And Ron Rau says you're the Michael Jackson of what?
Tulsa. He lived in Tulsa when he had his
Right.
little facial work done.
Oh, no. Here we
Now we've talked about, I think we've had,
Oh, gosh.
sorry, more than Botox?
Okay, here we go. Yes. There was, oh, really? It's not about me. It's
For
about
2
Ron.
seconds before we get knee deep into
Is
everything.
that possible with me?
No, I'll cut you off. It's okay.
Okay, excellent.
So reconstructive surgery?
Yes, it was for real. It was. Yeah. There was an accident,
Come on.
you know, and
So I couldn't let him get away with that.
So it
without
was
giving
weird
him some kind
because
of a hassle.
when I first did it, my face looked a lot different than it does now.
Oh yeah.
Because the swelling and everything.
What?
Oh, dude, for real.
No, bullshit.
No bullshit.
Yeah.
No. It was. They had all kind.
Are you kidding me?
No.
Did you get an accident?
Yes.
Like a
was
business
not-
accident, like at work?
Not at work. No.
Oh.
It was an accident. So they ended up having to redo a bunch of stuff in my jaw and all this.
Really?
Yeah. These little tiny things are actually cheek implants.
Really?
Yeah.
So how much surgery was actually done?
I was in surgery for 5.5, 6 hours.
So your joke is real.
No, it's real.
yeah,
Totally for real.
Yeah.
How long ago did this happen?
Oh, years ago.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Yeah.
How long have you two known each other?
Jeez, I don't know. Probably. Well, it's probably 20 plus years.
Yeah, it's been a very long time.
You've had a really wicked career in facility management because you've come from Limited Brands and Phoenix, and you've been both sides back and forth too, right?
Yeah, 38 years on the retail side, and then now 6 with Phoenix. So
Connects did an article on you in their magazine.
they asked me some questions, yeah, and they had me answer them. But I think they did a couple other of the past presidents as well.
Yeah. When you were president of Prism, now Connect, it's Connects. Sorry, we had this.
Connects.
Is it Connects?
Yeah.
When you were president, you held more than one term though, right?
Yeah, I had 3.
Wasn't that like the first at the time? Or,
Yeah,
or
I'm the only one that's gone 3.
Are you?
We were having a lot of turnover in retail at the time. Back then, the 3 boards that I had, the retail side of the board changed all 3 years. There were that many
Really?
people leaving.
But
When was this? 2001, 2,
2000,
3?
yeah.
But if I'm correct, there was a lot of reorganization, even in the organization.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Like,
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
and I think you, if I'm correct, took the helm on all that, and were magnificent in redirecting the direction and what they were trying to accomplish.
Yeah, the big thing back then so it was 2001.
1, 2, 3. That's when I met you.
3, yeah.
Yeah, somewhere back there.
And so I was on the board for like 7 years straight, and then 3 of those years were I took over for Ed Costa when he left and went into the construction side of Home Depot, and then was was the vice president under Steve Waxman, and then was it for 3 years, and then I was past president for 2 years because the president that came in after me left the organization after he was president.
Because
So I
he
had to
hated
then
you.
take another year as well. So
The market's going to change really drastically over the next 10 years, and I think this industry, the construction industry, I'm going to broader the scope. The construction industry, and I had this conversation with a guy named John Mullenhour, who's a really he's seen in the highest regard in Canada, and he's the president of the Toronto Construction Association, which has 7,000 members, and it's a very rich, robust. And he said outright that the construction industry and I'm talking about front line,
yeah,
is miles behind in technology, and he believes that like Uber, like downloading music, our time is coming.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, right. I mean, you're still trying to do it. I'm trying to do it.
And he said and half the battle isn't the ingenuity of people in the business; it's the acceptance of it at the field level.
Yes.
It's not. He said there's a lot of vendors.
Right. No, that's true. We've experienced that. So.
Right. He said it's the same way the cabbies didn't want to go onto an app, and they wanted to keep it. Dispatch, send cabbie 14324 over to the Hilton Hotel. And now we don't use that. Every Ubers, right?
Yeah.
But he said, when you look at Uber, it took 7, 8, 9 years before anybody grabbed onto that and said we can remodel the cab industry and make it better and serve water and have chargers and pick the vehicle we want to be in.
Right.
And he said it's just a matter of time until the construction industry, the frontline construction industry, starts accepting dynamic technology at their level. And it's funny because the facility management people in retail started taking on technology 10, 12 years ago.
Yeah.
Because they went from, and I guess it had a lot to do with making everything centralized. Back when I was a kid, started in this business, and probably you guys are the same. Everything was decentralized. You had regional managers and district this, and you had a maintenance guy that took care of these 15 stores, and right, and there was right, and so you could. It was very touchy-feely with your own people, and as they centralized and put everybody in one box, they couldn't get out to Florida. They couldn't, from Denver. They couldn't get to Toronto. They couldn't get to. It was too far to go, so they had to bring technology in to manage vendors, purchase orders. They realized the cost of writing a check was $200, and meanwhile you're getting the invoice from the vendor, and it's $200, and you're like. You realize it took us $200 in paperwork to write this plumber $200. Right. We need to consolidate this package. Right. That's really what happened. Yeah. Sears Canada, I said that last time you were crying, but so you didn't hear me.
To bring that up again.
But Sears Canada told me outright back 20 years ago that it was costing them $175 to cradle to grave a purchase order to a vendor. And they said, and so the funny thing is we didn't realize this, but these jobs are $200, $300, $400, $500, and we got and this is just in Canada, I got 7,000 vendors, and they're like writing checks to these guys every 2-3 days for $200, $500, and
it's expensive.
Yeah, he said even Tim. He looked at his name was Bill Campbell, and he said to me, Tom Campbell, and he said to me. Even if you put 25%, this is back in the day before anybody was national, this or anything, right? He said, even if you put 25% on everything, and we're fully transparent, he said, you're still going to be cheaper with one check a month than me writing 7,000 checks to 7,000 mucks across the country.
Right.
Yeah.
He said, let's do it. And we did it for 2 years, full transparency.
Really?
And we literally got to put 25% on everything. Right, 10. It was 12 and 12 or whatever, whatever the magic they want. And literally, we full transparency. And he said, save $3.5 million.
Makes sense.
And just by consolidating trades, and then the purchase orders came in, then the work order management came in, and then stakeholders wouldn't believe that they were saving money. Do you get it? Right? And so they said, we're going to data mine. If you can't measure it, you can't manage it. This is where all these measurement tools came in play. And now we had this conversation off air just prior to this, and I said, I think we've come full circle with our technology, and we're so focused on making sure the stakeholders, the shareholders, needs for information have been capitalized on so they feel good about the spend. And we forgot about the frontline store manager and the technician that's on site. And the technology is abstract to them because all the technology and all the data we collect is for these senior management people. And not for that store manager and for that technician who's feeling the brunt of the 6 o'clock on a Friday night call when everybody wants to go home.
Well, keep in mind, and Ron has seen a lot of technology. As we try, as developers, the software, we try to, we want to touch them. We want to include them. in our case, and probably in yours, our information includes the store manager. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to go through and look at it and read it, and but we're trying to embrace them in that process. Sometimes they choose. So there is, as you're saying, I mean, there needs to be a form of communication.
Well, the dysfunctionality, and by the way, the variables are endless, and I don't have a solution, but I know there's, Home Depot, there's 2, 3, 4 managers. The one that you dealt with that had the problem originally, that knows everything about the clogged drain or whatever it is, isn't on site when your guy calls, or isn't on site when and they're like, I don't know anything about the call. I don't have the access code. They changed the passcode. Barbara left last week, and you get a whole bunch of,
right.
And you spend a day even getting to the target on a telephone, and the person that you're trying to get to, Barbara, isn't around for 3 days because it's her shift, and they work weird hours because that's retail. But the techs, I don't know about your guys, our guys are 9 to 5, 7 to 4, whatever their regular 9 to 5 jobs, and Barbara is not there because she works Saturday and Sunday, so she's not there the Monday and Tuesday. You got the call on the Friday. Wendy doesn't know anything about it when you called her on Tuesday. You have to call her on Wednesday. It's a P1, and Vixo's down your back telling you make it happen now. When you finally get there, it's not the roof; it's the HVAC. Sorry, HVAC. You guys call it HVAC. Yeah. A is spelled EH. Just for the record.
I agree. In Canada.
But that disconnect, and I know it doesn't sound like much, right? But I've heard enough store managers and enough technicians, not even for my own company, I'm talking broadband,
right,
that complain that they don't. Two psychological things that happen as I spit across the room. One is the technician doesn't feel like he's important anymore, a little time abused, and the store manager feels like this is totally out of her hands or his hands, and I'm just a victim of circumstance of whenever it happens. And you're the third guy that's come here this month, and that story said so much to me in the last 10 years, and gotten progressively worse.
But I think so. I thought about what we were talking about earlier, right? And so when technology was coming into play, right, it wasn't about dehumanizing the process. Now, all technology nowadays tends to dehumanize everything,
sure,
right?
Yeah.
But it wasn't supposed to supplant telephone calls to find out what was really going on that you couldn't explain in an email or in a work order, right? Mm-hmm. It wasn't about, if you didn't see that a work order had been put into an accepted status, right? And with a date as to when you were going to get there, that you didn't call somebody and say, fix that, get it up and running, right? Or at least get it in the system so I know when somebody can, is going to be there. And then but if you think about, you added all this technology, but we still have the same problem that we had 15 years ago, in that the store would call in, maybe directly to you, which is the big difference, right?
Yeah, that was the big
because
difference.
you're talking
access to
the person that knows the issue. Like you said, that call comes in, it goes into somebody who types it into a work order, and then you get the work order, and if they heard the person right, you're okay. If they didn't, then, or didn't ask the next question, right? And so, what we tried to do was build the questions for the person taking the call so that you get that, right? Now, whether that happens today or not, I don't know.
I don't believe that it does.
Well, and what happens too is the call center mentality. People shut that shit down now when you talk to them. So they go, hi, this is American Express calling. I'd like to sell you a new American Express card. I'd like to have a few questions about your household and gender. That's what, and it's right. Yeah. And you catch on quite quickly that the person that you're calling or that you're talking to is a layman and is not technical, which then devaluates the person's responses to the person, because now the questions are canned.
Right.
And
right. What you're saying makes sense.
But it's like, you were talking HVAC.
It's HVAC.
And a water leak, right?
Yeah.
So when you have an HVAC issue.
See, you guys can be trained.
It's amazing. Hey.
He likes change.
He does like change. Yeah.
He's wearing women's underwear right now.
Well, good for him.
Just for the day. He's trying it out.
Just for today.
Just trying it out. Okay, keep going.
So Man, you made me lose my train of thought. Wait a minute. But
Wiggles around a bit.
Yeah.
when you think about the technology, actually, based on what you're saying, right, in that the message isn't getting put into the system properly, potentially, and then you've got questions that don't get asked. But in the maintenance world for retail, if you had an HVAC call or an HVAC call, whichever you wanted to call it, you knew that if it was a water leak, you'd say, where do you see, the questions were so specific that if you answered a question this way, you ask this question next. If you answer it this way, you ask this question next, right? So there were some of those things, right? And now, you say, where's it, where's the leak?
Right.
Is the leak a
Right
drip?
above the register. Right above the register.
Yeah, right. If they said it's leaking right above, so how bad is it leaking, right? If you have to put a bucket underneath it, then it's an emergency,
Yes.
right?
They say that
If it's a drip, you say, okay, we're going to get somebody out there. It's not an emergency that needs to be immediately taken care of. But if you leave a drip sit too long, it all of a sudden becomes a major water leak.
Right. Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So there's, some of that play in there. And that was always one of the hardest things, was having a person who wasn't really technical about an issue, making sure they understood exactly how bad something could be, right? So they don't put it into emergency status, and all of a sudden call comes in, my ceiling just caved in, right?
Right,
Now
but honestly, let's say, and I'm going to pick random numbers out of my head. 10% of everything is really a P1, and another 50% of it gets shoved into P1s because somebody's ticked off that they didn't get the service that they felt or the intrigue they felt. Right?
I would agree there's some of that, but it's like,
and it's a P1 to the wrong trade, which even makes it worse.
so it's like with us, right? We're all about HVAC and lighting, right? So our calls are very specific.
Yep.
We train our people to understand what is the client wants us to react on and how often they want us to be there, right? So they're always, you're right. The tendency of a store manager is, I put it in as an emergency.
Yeah,
right?
it might not be the senior management of the retailer or even the VIXOs and the facility plus all those guys. It's the store manager going, I'm a disconnected, so I'm going to make it a better connection.
Yeah, well, he or she's going to say, look, if I don't make it important, it's not going to get done, right?
Right.
Kind of thing.
But that's the dehumanization of technology, and technology doesn't make you feel important anymore.
True.
But you didn't know it before either, though, right?
You did when you called me on the phone. I went, "Oh my God, Barb, how are you? I haven't talked to you in a week." Oh, there's that human experience.
Well, yeah, that
right?
I get.
That helps.
It does help.
It does help.
Yeah.
But
And so for me, right, our stores and the technicians that were coming in, I think one of the bigger changes that's caused some of that dehumanization is the same tech's not going to the store all the time.
Right.
correct.
Because you can't afford to potentially do that, right? Or they're calling you this time.
Well, so yeah,
They
there's
called
that.
the last time, my primary very seldom ever turned down a call.
Right.
For me, right? We paid him.
Nobody ever turned down a call.
15 days.
Nobody ever turned down a call from Ron.
Right. No, but I mean,
Shut up.
our company, right?
Right.
But I mean,
The king says, "Hey, they never turned down a call from me." No shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Women's underwear or not.
I'm looking for high heels now.
so when you think about that, the true relationship, in my mind, and I used to go to vendors and talk to their people. They're technicians, right? They'd have me come in, talk about what we're trying to do, what we want to do, how important they were to the process, right? You're the person that's my face. Your technician is my face.
Yes.
Right. No, he represents
store.
our company.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
us, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, the retailer themselves. The guy who walks through that door, the greasy, icky dude, or the really good-looking guy that's got the nice thing on.
Right.
They represent limited brands or
yeah, so if
Home Depot or whoever.
yeah, if you treat them like, if you treat the store like crap when you go in there, that plays right back to me, right? But if you treat them nice and are helpful and that kind of thing, then we all, look good and that kind of thing. So to me, it was making sure that the tech understood the importance of you are going to meet multiple people there, but you're going to be one of the more consistent pieces of the process. So if you were out there 2 weeks before and didn't get it fixed the way it should have been fixed, right? You're the one that's got to reap those,
Yeah, got to do it
you
all.
got to go
back and
fix
back.
it again, right?
Right.
Kind of thing. And that's not what you want, because
No.
now you got to pay for 2 trips instead of 1, that kind of thing.
And I don't have the solution, but I still know there's a problem between that technician feeling demoralized that he's not worth anything when he goes to the wrong call, or that he's being the third guy, and the store manager not feeling like they're being taken care of. And those complaints down the bottom front line. You just said it, the people that are really our brand are the people that. And by the way, we've talked about negative energy and guys complaining roguely underground. When that happens, I'll tell you, as guys that leaders, if you hear a complaint about a store manager or a technician in there, and you hear them, not about us, but about the way the process works, you realize that we only get to see the tip of the iceberg as leaders.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So you got to know that we
It's
only
happening more often.
100 times
Yes.
more than what you saw
Right.
once. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's like seeing a termite. You see a couple of termites, you know the whole thing's right.
Bottom line is what you're talking about is fixable. It's certainly fixable, and it doesn't take a whole lot of programming to do that. You can do certain things, enhance your system.
Okay, so
And what you're referring to is these big work order management
companies,
systems, right? They just need to tweak some of their solutions to get more of that
IT programmers
type of
get together
process.
worldwide in California and in Seattle with Microsoft, and their mission statement
Right.
is to create technology faster than the disinterested intellectual curiosity of humans, to ensure that they can keep up with the processes that are advancing culture. Because they say that every time you invent a piece of technology to overcome that hurdle, humans will actually, the tighter the mousetrap, we find a way to get out again.
So the other piece, and why I think it's so hard, and I don't think there's a fix for it.
You don't?
Totally. I don't.
Yeah.
Just because.
Hey, you know what? We're not here to talk about Filtrex, but I'll show you something when we're done here that I may change your mind.
And the only reason I say that is maintenance is only important when it doesn't happen, and they're expecting it to happen. So you could put a screen on their POS and they're check it out, and a little box comes up maintenance wise. Hey, you got something there? They won't even press it. So, and
Right.
Susie may be cold when she comes in, and then Sam is hot when he comes in, and they don't care about the other, right? And they're
Sure.
so. To me, you can communicate, and you guys were even saying it earlier, right? Is they don't look at it. I mean, we had you pressed a button on their POS screen, and it would pop up a calendar that said, "Here's when your maintenance is going to happen." Well, if they don't ever go to it, right? Then how you can never fix it, and there's always going to be those people that will never do that, right? You can put as many bells and whistles as you want to in it, but you're going to have competing priorities that will.
I know we're about to segue into you. I got it. And you're going to go on a long speech, but this tape's going to run out. We don't have.
We
all
don't
day.
want to do that to anybody.
But the way you're heading with your technology, the real challenge, by the way, to make it user friendly. And I appreciate I agree with you, totally.
It's never going to go away.
But the technology, and if you looked at a LinkedIn or an Instagram, so all the technologies that are currently on the retailer's marketplace right now are desk based. If they were phone based, and it doesn't have to be an app anymore. You can use HTML5, right? You don't have to use an app, but you can put notices on people's phones, not in their email. See, that's the other thing. People want to manage their time better too. That's another reason they don't want to sit in front of your stupid POS dumb shit.
No,
machine.
they're working on their POS. The POS is what they're
the only thing our society wants to use right now is a phone.
Right. Yes.
Period. So everything you build that's not phone functioned will not be used by humans. So it needs to be a phone app, a phone use,
The pop-up
and
on
it
the
needs
phone.
to be a pop-up independent from
email.
your text message,
Right.
from your email, from your Instagram,
yes.
from that. So it's independent, so they can manage it when they want to, but it's still flashing there. Do you get it?
But they're not there 24/7, 365.
That's
Okay, so this is
he always does this, doesn't
right,
he?
but this is
He
no,
always
I like
circles
it.
back around. Like,
No, I like this. So this,
right.
but in today's environment, in the millennial environment,
I get you. The phone is
okay. So A,
the ruler.
the phone is the ruler. Number 2 is life balance, which means, and I try to promote this all the time in my place. Come and go from work as you want. Pick your hours, pick your time,
Right.
move around. Don't feel like you're stuck in it. And that also means, though, that you're going to use your phone 24 hours around the clock, right? So I don't care whether you're in the store 30 hours or 40,
Right.
but if you're managing this store and you're
It's your
participating,
responsibility.
right, it's part of your responsibility. At the same token, though, we're not slaves.
We can't be slaves to
60
business.
hours doesn't mean you're working better than the guy who worked 30.
Correct.
no, it means you're not.
Right? Yeah, right?
No,
yeah, it means you're not doing your job right.
I gave somebody a review and gave him a meets expectation, and he said,
But I'm here every night till 7 o'clock.
I'm working almost 24 hours a day. I said, that's why you got the meets expectation.
Hey, was that Wick line?
Cut that out. That's cut out.
I love Mikey.
Okay, but so phone driven, right? And
Yeah,
and then life balance yet with your store managers, so they
Right.
feel like they're part. By the way, they don't feel like they're part of the solution. They feel like they're part of a process.
Right.
And your managers and our technicians
Right.
all want to feel like they're the solution. By the way, whether it's fake or not, we need to give them, like we want it, that
Right.
feeling that they're part of the solution.
Right.
But let me tell you, what they're reviewed upon and get money on is sales,
Sales.
loss,
Right.
theft,
Loss prevention, yeah.
theft, and units per transaction, right? Because it's all driving sales.
It's just not
And
innate,
so-
though. None of this process is innate. It's not part of your lifestyle.
So if you walk into a store with the head of stores and it's dirty,
Not good.
they don't get in trouble for that. They'll be told you need to clean the
Clean it up,
store up.
yeah.
But if their sales are good and their shrink is good, they get praised because the customer's still
Almighty
buying,
dollar. That's it.
right? And so,
I know, but that's why the system needs. By the way, that's an old man way of thinking. So no. It's
But that's a
it's
respectful
fact.
way to look
I know,
at it.
but it's either dirt or gold, right?
Right.
So and I'll tell you, the young ladies that are standing out in front here, the dirt and gold theory doesn't work anymore. It doesn't. They don't. They care that they have life balance, and I'll be
Right.
honest.
Oh, yeah.
We hear that.
And everything they do, if it's not innate to their lifestyle, natural to their lifestyle, holding that phone's natural. So we as leaders have to come up with a way to do business that we can integrate into their lifestyle so it does not burden them. And going to a different computer terminal burdens them. No.
Going to a different
But
website.
pulling their phone out of
burdens
their
them
pocket
sometimes.
burdens them
I
too.
know.
I have not opened because we've gone all automated, right?
Yes, yes.
And I made my entire system phone driven,
Yes.
not desktop driven.
Right.
Even the accounting's phone driven. I haven't pulled my laptop out in
Right.
9-10 months, and have no intention of pulling it out ever again in my life.
I didn't. About 2 years ago, I bought a brand new
Laptop.
Mac Pro.
You haven't
all
opened
this stuff. 10 times.
That's because you're doing the same thing I'm doing. You're
Right,
you're
on
not.
the phone.
right.
I'm
Yeah,
on the phone.
and if I can't, and so like I simply accounting or QuickBooks and all that shit, right? Accounting software. First thing I go is, can I use it on my phone? And they're like, no thanks. So you guys, we have an entire system. This whole convention's got software, and
I noticed that.
Most
Yeah.
of right, and most of it's administrative, desk orientated. Excel spreadsheets, give me the data, manage the data, and it needs to be phone and user experience.
Well, so people are now starting to go to BI report. BI reporting's now the big thing. It's
What's
like
BI reporting?
BI reporting is real time reporting that's web based, and
Yeah.
so you
Yeah,
can
it's
get
ours,
to it no matter where you're
Yeah.
at. So you got your
Yeah.
phone,
Right.
Yeah.
boom, it puts it there.
Right.
If you're an old guy and got a computer, it's there.
Right, that's ours, yeah.
When I use my pager, it's
Your fax machine. You got the fax machine.
fax. My fax.
The size of the table.
It's huge, right? With a staple and one piece of paper and it's stuck. Yeah, but if so, the next 5 years, the tools at the Vixos and the facility sources all have to become phone and swipe left, swipe right. If you have to ask them to type, so we put all ours to photo. So we have every piece of our equipment, every screw.
Yes.
Number 10 wood screw, number 8 wood screw, and then they go 1, 2, 3, 4 screws.
Right.
Or roll of duct tape. They don't type duct tape. They don't pick it up.
Duct tape.
It's a picture of duct tape, and they pick it. Yeah, swipe it left or swipe it right. You want it on the bill, you don't want it on the bill. And if I didn't make it that way, I get my text in. They would never do it. If I said go through a scrolly list of
write it down,
a scrolly list of text in some number 10 wood screw 3-inch, like all written out like that, they wouldn't do it. If I give them a picture of wood screw, I'll pick that.
I like it.
And so it needs to be made. We're all the same page, and I know that. Our conversation goes beyond this, but I think that if I don't make this for these kids to do this,
right,
and we're only in the beginning,
right, it's gonna go.
So I think the Big So's and all those guys are 5 to 7 years. And by the way, technology changes quick. This is the problem. By the time I get where I'm going to get to, I'm going to have to rebuild it again. And I think those guys are hanging on to shit they built 5, 6 years ago, like with their claws and jamming it down stakeholders' throats just to show they can justify it. Meanwhile, they're not actually building it for the person that needs it, which is your store manager and my tech. And by the way, my techs don't carry their phones 24 hours a day too. But because Wendy's so easy, this is the best part. Because it's picture driven, my guys are doing work orders and quotes at night while they're lying in bed. Picking pictures, literally pictures of my guys don't type anything anymore. It's all photographs. The catalog's all photographs. I look at a Home Depot app to buy your screws, tape, suction cups. They use 1 or 2. They pick pictures of suction cups, but I watch the stuff the girls work on in my office, and the screens and the black screens and the heavy text driven stuff. It's not fun. It's not innate.
But you also have to think. You also have to think about they're building something that thousands of people.
So am I. So is he.
Are using, but no, for your, but for you're doing that stuff for your techs, right? And for your stores, if they build a product that is so far advanced, yet 2/3 of the retail environment is not that advanced yet.
Right.
So here's
now it'll all catch up.
Okay, so but I think you're heading the right track, and I think there's a dynamic change about to happen with this industry and the way we manage our work orders.
Kevin's so cute.
I know. Bring Kevin up here for Ron. Ron, have you ever had goat before?
No.
Come on. Oh, come on. Have you ever eaten goat?
Never eaten goat.
Come here. Come on, Kevin. Oh,
why would you eat him?
Because he's yummy.
That's your brother?
That's my brother, Kevin.
I thought it was you earlier. I came by the booth and I started talking to
Kevin.
Tim, what you doing, man? You're down on the floor.
Kevin, this is the world, Kevin. Say hello, Kevin. That's my brother.
Is it Kevin or Kevin?
Kevin. Yeah, it's Kevin. Kevin.
I thought you said Kevin.
It sounded like Kevin.
Did it?
Kevin. That's
but I know it's Kevin.
That must be that Canadian.
It's a Canadian.
You must not be watching the podcast, Mr. Rau.
Yeah, what the fuck? You're not watching my podcast? Too busy trying on your wife's underwear. That's what you're doing.
I do watch a couple of them.
Yeah. Every once in a while, one sticks out, right?
I have trouble getting into them. So
right. You mean podcasts in general or mine?
Of like finding, I click on things and then I.
Oh, you mean actually making your way into the technology?
You should be giving me
lessons on how to actually get there.
He needs swipe left, swipe right.
Right.
That's what we need to do.
Yeah.
We need to figure that out for him.
It needs to be easier, right?
Right.
So, you'd have 50,000 viewers instead of 30.
And so my problem with the podcast is that my viewers are older. I'm not with millennials having it.
So we need to be automated.
Right? Absolutely.
You should do that.
Do you want to take my brother home with you to Columbus, Ohio?
Yeah, that'd be good.
Put him in the backyard. You never mow lawn again. Are you mowing your lawn already?
I mowed it twice, Yeah, I mowed it twice.
We're all done. This is Tim Byrne. I'm Tim Byrne, almost live. Mr. Blount, it's always a pleasure.
My pleasure, friend.
And you, Grandpa. I love having you on the show.
Anytime, man.
Phoenix, you guys aren't actually out of Phoenix.
No, we're out of Phoenix was the rebirth, right?
Right. Gotcha.
Yeah.
So it was the rebirth of the company back when Lisa, started.
Where are you out of again? Some shithole?
Yeah. Oklahoma, Nevada.
Frankly, honesty is really hard to come by. And I like to think that my show brings a little bit of that to you, and some integrity and some open, honest conversations, so we can make all our businesses better, whether you're at a trade show or whether you're running a work order management company or you're just a glass and door guy working down the street. The idea is to bring people on the show and have real conversations about real business, how to make profit, how to make business simpler, how to make it easier. I'm Tim Byrne. This is Tim Byrne Almost Live. I'd like you to subscribe to me. I'd like you to listen to my show. Go to timbyrnealmostlive.com, Spotify, Google Music, or iTunes, and I'd be really pleased to hear back from you. You have a great day.